Hey, this is Ed coming at you all again on a video about growth, stepping out in faith, and how to build your integrity. First, I'm going to start off with growth. Growth is the definition of basically stepping out of your comfort zone that you've been accustomed to for so many years and be willing to jump out head first into different challenges in life and obstacles that you're going to face in order to develop growth skills. And basically, I'm going to start off with myself. I remember I was working a job back in the 90s, well, close to the mid to late 90s, where a certain wage above minimum wage was good living at the time if you didn't have any children. And long story short was that it was good living at the time in the 90s. And job I worked for 5 years, basically we could sleep on the job 3 hours in between the times that the machine shut down. That was good living, but we also knew that it was going to come a point of time that we couldn't do this forever. But being the type of people that we were and the mentality that we were in at that time, we took it for granted. And it came a point of time as the economy changed, dealing with, things changed with politics and everything. And came a time when good living began to be a struggle. And that's when I began to realize that, okay, times is changing. They froze our raises. They stopped our bonuses. So what is the next obstacle to do? So what I did, basically, I took a gamble. A friend of mine, I'm going to send a shout out to him, Derek Robinson. He started a job with public housing in Gary. And by then, they were paying a little bit more than what we were comfortable with. So I told him, I said, hey, put a word out for me. And he did. And so I went and chatted with the guy that was over grounds crew at the time. Mind you, it wasn't easy because growth is very painful and you have to endure the scrapes and the bruises that come with growth. And everybody wants growth, but they don't want to go through the pain and the endurance that it takes to succeed at growth. So I met the guy. So about 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks went down the line and I didn't get no response. So I hung around the warehouse like a cat. If you fed a cat before, a stray cat, what happens? The cat keeps coming around, seeking attention. So I kept coming around. I seeked. 1 week led to 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. By the time the 4th week came, I got that break. And so that first week came along, I did and showed what I had, my work ethics, and you just never know who's watching you. So it pays to be on your best at all times. And so a guy, I'm going to send this shout out, and may he rest in peace, Andrew Dorn. He watched me for a whole week, handle my business. And not even a week into that job, he said, hey, do you want to learn how to drywall and plaster? I said, okay. He said, yeah. Mind you, I had no idea what he was talking about at the time. And like I said, when you request and require growth, it's going to be required of you to endure the pain, and the endurance is going to come with it. Because in the back of my mind, I said yes. I said yes up front, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh man, I'm going to mess up at this. I'm going to fail at this. But that's okay too. I went on ahead and said yes. And, making that decision, he made a way for me to have a job that I had, and I was fortunate to work 15 years later after the fact. But I'm going to get back to that. I went on ahead and watched him for about 8 months at the time hold down his skills of drywall and plastering. I watched him to a point about 6-7 months in. He said, okay. He would call out the measurements. I go out there, I cut the drywall up after I measure it. Blase Skippy woo woo, it's a perfect fit. And he asked me one day out the blue, he said, are you ready? I said, yeah. He said, I'm for the turn you loose on your first unit. Yeah, I got out there and I handled it the first time. Then I got to a second drywall job where I struggled because there was an issue with the soil floor in the unit at the time, and I was trying to, as tall as I am, trying to crawl up into a little bitty space, and I got into the space. But I'm trying to screw the stud into this particular area of a ceiling job in the kitchen, and instead of the screw hitting the stud, it hit the toilet end, and the urine was all over the place. It was a funny situation, but it was all humor, and that's what comes with growth, So now I'm finna get out to stepping into faith. I stepped off into faith simply because at that time I thought I was gonna fail. But you just never know when you make them moves where it's gonna lead you at in the long haul. And my point is, saying, if you don't step out and just make that move and jump from the parachute, you never know what's on the outside. If you fail, that's okay. To me, failing is progress, because you can't always fail the same way. And then as far as your integrity comes, you have to be willing to get out there and accept the doubters and the naysayers, because you're going to get that. Everybody's not going to like what accomplishments you're trying to make and obtain in your lifetime and grow from. But that's fine as well. I use all that as motivation to keep me going. And even with this growth thing and getting out of your comfort zone, basically, I'm out here filming a video at nighttime. It's all about doing something different. It's not about getting Grammy Awards from everybody else, because, hey, everybody's not going to like you. Everybody's not going to accept you. Key point is you have to be willing to grow, sacrifice things that you like, sacrifice lifetime friends. That's the true test out here. Because had I not went out here and made that attempt, and it was a gamble, because this was a seasonal job that I took a gamble to, go out here and get. And not knowing it was going to lead to me a future later on, even though that future didn't last forever neither. But that's another story for another day. But the point of the matter is, you never know your worth until you go out there and chase it. Yeah, it's going to be hard. You're going to bruise yourself. You're going to get winded. But eventually, after so many weeks, so many months, so many years into this game, you're going to build that strength and endurance to get you where you need to be and where you should have been. But that's all I have to say today. Have a good one. Like and subscribe. This is Ed Mayfield coming back at you.